Welcome to Consented, a podcast series by Usercentrics, where we talk to our most trusted partners about all things data privacy, digital marketing, SaaS, and of course, the thing that ties it all together, partnerships. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome everyone to episode 4 of Consented. In the last episode, we spoke about the end of third-party cookies and how this is going to affect marketers in the future. What we concluded was that building trust among your users in your marketing approach is absolutely essential. In this episode, we're going to zoom in even further, and we're going to be talking about the finer details of websites, and specifically for agencies who not only need to build trust for their own clients on their websites, but also for their clients' users on their clients' websites. So joining me today on the podcast to teach us more about this topic, we have two of our expert partners. Firstly, we have Andy Crestodina, co-founder and CMO of Orbit Media Studios. Welcome, Andy. It's super great to have you here today. Would you tell the listeners a little about yourself and why you're an expert on this topic?
I co-founded Orbit Media 24 years ago as a web development company, and today we are still a web development company. We build and optimize websites. We do mostly B2B sites. We've done more than 1,000 projects. These last years, we do generally like 30 to 40 high performance sites, optimized for search, optimized for conversions, for companies with like big expectations for performance. So very familiar with this, and I'm also someone who totally grew this agency without any advertising. It's been a 100% kind of inbound and content marketing strategy for us. So love the topic.
Awesome, Andy. Always great to talk to you. Also on the episode today, we have Russ Jeffrey, Director of Ecosystem and Product Strategy at Duda. Welcome. Great to have you here today, Russ. Would you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and why they should listen to you about their websites?
Absolutely. So I'm Russ Jeffrey. I'm the Director of Platform and Product Strategy at Duda. What that means is I oversee all things related to partnerships, ecosystems, and kind of integrations into the Duda platform. I've been at Duda for 12 years, working across a wide area of kind of website building broadly. So I've built our product. I've built websites for our customers. I've built websites alongside customers. I've helped agencies for a long time build, optimize sites. I've kind of been the internal SEO expert and expert kind of all things ecosystem around websites in general and kind of the broader industry. So I've been around this space for about 12 years now. So it's interesting and kind of fun, dynamic area to be in.
Awesome. So you guys have experienced a lot when it comes to websites. You've built a lot of websites. You've helped build a lot of websites. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the most common mistakes that you've seen when people are launching their websites? And what are the costs and the risks of potentially missing out on some of the requirements?
Big one. Well, for agencies specifically, I've got a point of view here. I don't think it's okay for agencies to keep saying the cobbler's children have no shoes. Not something we should ever hear ourselves saying. It's not okay. If you are providing web development services, if you're a conversion pro or a search optimization pro, you need to have yourself be an example of your best work. It's unconscionable to say, we're pros at web. We think you should invest in web, but we don't invest in web. Don't look, do what I say, not as I do. It's absurd. So your site should sparkle as an example of a high performance platform for lead gen or whatever your value prop is. If you say that you can rank websites, you should show how you can rank your own website. If you say how you get, you're a pro at analytics setup, your analytics should be a work of art. Your site should be a minor masterpiece of search conversion and measurement, because if you can't show off yourself as an example, I mean, your credibility, your sales closing rate, your lead gen, everything is going to be harder. Recruiting, everything, name a business objective. You're hurting yourself a lot more than you might think by not doing your best work for yourself.
I see this all the time, Andy, when, I'm dealing with a lot of agencies where, they're trying to sell SEO, and I look through their website and they haven't done a whole lot of SEO optimization. They haven't filled in, even the basics of like title and description and making sure that URLs make sense, right? Like in the Duda platform, we, sometimes we generate things like it's copy of page 7. And I still see those URLs live on agency websites of, guess what? You haven't looked at this and you haven't thought through what are those things that show that I'm an expert in this area that prove that. I go to an agency website. I expect it to be pretty. I expect it to be beautiful. I expect it to have wonderful examples of clients that they've worked with in the past and case studies showing their work that I don't have to ask them for, that I don't have to get to sales to talk to. I see those type of things missing all the time on agencies' websites. It's something that, they're really right. So I completely agree with what you're saying here, Andy, that agencies miss a whole lot. I think, if I were to say anything else about common mistakes that I also see when missing websites, I see, a lot of people missing different things on their website. They're missing things about who their team are and what aspects, like each team member might cover. I see things missing, like maybe pricing or like how they charge their customers directly, not just individual things, not just the individual services that they provide. There's a lot of other areas I think, agencies are missing, but broadly, I agree with your point that their websites need to be perfection, and are missing a whole lot. Yeah.
I love that. I could just briefly, you started it. I'm thinking more about that list. Faces of your team, current examples, logos of your clients, or as seen in logos of media sites and places you've appeared. Answers to your prospects' top questions. The best sales pages emulate a sales conversation with the top rep. That's the job. Answer questions, address objections, and supply evidence to support those answers. Data, statistics, testimonials, years in business, the case study. So important, Russ. Thank you. Strong supportive visuals, meaningful subheads, a clean, simple flow, storytelling, brand alignment. Every one of these should be an A or A+ on your site if you're an agency. And whoever you are, try to generate any leads. Like, that's kind of the game. Do those things and you'll feel it on the back end.
Yeah. So Andy, you feel like you do most of these well on your website?
Very proud of my site. Take a look. It tells the story with video, with text, testimonials. We changed the messenger from ourselves to our client in the testimonial context. Case studies is one of my weaker points. We have a strong and updated portfolio, but more storytelling in the case studies. We're launching more of those now. Yeah. But we rank #1 for Chicago web design and hundreds of other phrases. Our conversion rates are admirable and measurable. I show my own analytics as an example. My GA4 explorations are a work of art. Consent, compliance with privacy laws, accessibility. My site is a AA compliant, accessible website. So, no, and it cranks. We generate all of our leads from a website. It makes me millions of dollars, and I recommend everyone do the same thing.
That's basically, awesome. Look at Andy's website for an example of what you should be doing.
Yeah, you should copy it,
but not exactly. And when, as an agency, Andy, like you are yourself, you've built this website that is basically like exactly what you would recommend to your customers. And you spoke a little bit about accessibility and consent. And I just want to go down that line a little bit of when you are building a website for somebody else, what are the most common objections that you get? Or I don't need that, or I don't want to do that.
I do sales, so I understand that the job of the salesperson is to first address the person's objections and answer their questions. So they have their own business goals, and we need to align with their goals, so they shouldn't hire us, right? So if you're not solving the problems that they bring up, then your sales closing rate will be terrible. You're not meeting your audience's needs. Even in content marketing, it's about them. But if you've ever read the book The Challenger Sale, there's lots of evidence that the best salespeople answer unasked questions. You raise you bring up things that might not have been a concern for them and show how you address those. So when you talk about accessibility or privacy or consent, that may not have been one of their top 3. But when you say, I am going to do the right thing for your audience, I'm going to make this work for a greater percentage of your visitors, or I am going to keep you on the right side of privacy laws. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's good. That's great. So there's a lot of things that websites have to do to to perform well. And it's our job as expert digital strategists to inform the client that these are things we care about for the right reasons and that we're going to take care of them. So there usually aren't objections to like, do you want your site to conform with privacy laws? Do you want your site to be accessible to people with disabilities? But there might be an objection to spending lots of money on that. But you can also make that case, because there's risks in not doing them. So it's a part of marketing and sales. Loss aversion. Highlight what your prospect will miss, risk, or lose by not taking care of this requirement. Tell them. It's your job. You must tell them. You're a strategist. That's a job of an expert. So tell them what they're risking by not making a site that might add liabilities to their business.
Yeah. Andy, I actually have a question for you here. Do you feel like you build quite a bit more trust when you bring up these items ahead of time, kind of proactively in these conversations? Like you're bringing up things like accessibility and making it work for more people across the web, right? 15% of Americans have some form of disability. We get the little Mac thumbs up there. For privacy, right? If you have any customers in the EU, you need to be, privacy. You need to have a consent tool on top of your website for tracking consent. More and more, it's common across the U.S. that you have to do this. Like CCPA or CRPA in California requires this for certain businesses. There's several different state laws kind of around that's there. Do you find that passing that level of detailed information helps, or is it broader kind of conversations of, hey, I'm going to help you do these things, and just kind of like we're checking the box and making sure it's covered for you? Well,
I think that the tone is sometimes, hey, we build sites and we're in this price range, and we do a lot of $80,000 and $100,000 and 120K websites. And there's a moment of sticker shock for a large percentage of prospects, and that's understandable. I feel that myself when buying different things. Yeah. But when you highlight to the person you're talking to just how many requirements there are and how many details go into it, they begin to understand. Think about all the things the site must do or else it fails. Rank in search engines, convert visitors into leads, integrate with their systems, be easy to measure, be easy to update, mobile friendly, fast loading, accessible to people with disabilities, conform with privacy laws, on point, on brand. There's like at least 10 or 12 things that sites must do or they fail. And clients, when they hear that, like, oh, wow, I didn't think about all of these critical like do or die requirements, because if you miss one, the project really isn't a success. So I think that, yes, it builds trust, not just in that you solve that specific need, but in that you understand the big picture and that you can build them a platform for lead gen while keeping all of these 10 things in mind. Yeah. It's complex. It's a very difficult service to offer. There's a gazillion details in web, and the difference between experts and new entrants into that category, huge difference. and your list didn't even cover like the technical build side or any aspect of the hosting, right? Security, right? There's I could go on. The list is it's a very, very long list. Absolutely. One objection I hear kind of frequently from the agency customers that I work with is kind of platform choice coming up quite a bit. There's some popular platforms on the web, WordPress being number one, where agencies hear this from customers of, hey, I need my site on WordPress, or my existing site's on WordPress. I want to stay there with it. I hear that being a fairly common one, alongside, also like, what are like the update cycles and kind of update refreshes that go along with maintaining and building a website, right? Agencies always have the problem of like, I'm going to go and build a website, I'm going to deliver it. Then the customer comes back with, 15 different revisions over 7 different, email threads that come back. And so those also are kind of objections, I think, that agencies need to think of upfront of how they're going to handle and kind of communicate each one of those things. And to Andy's point, these should just be on your website, right? These should be, here's our platform choice, our platform of choice, whether you work with other platforms or not. What is the update cycle and what is the frequency of changes that are made? If they're paying for an ongoing service, are you going to refresh this every 3 months, 6 months, every year? What is that cadence and what does that optimization cycle look like? What are the related costs to those?
I hear those kind of pushbacks all the time from customers of agencies.
And Russ, how would you then counter that and try and convince them that these are actually necessary things and you should just listen to me? What do you say?
For which one? For platform, for update cycles, for what?
For all of them. Give us everything.
For everything. Yeah, for platform, I think it needs to be what the agency's comfortable with, right? I think they need to have confidence in their usage of it, and that they can, ultimately deliver on all of the requirements that we're outlining in this conversation. They need to be confident that they can deliver on it for accessibility, for privacy and security, that it's secure and it's up and it's maintained, that they can do SEO optimization and have it, be ready, that they can do conversion rate. They need to be comfortable that they can check all of these boxes. So whether that's on a platform like Duda, or whether that's on WordPress or any other kind of, there's hundreds of website platforms out there to build on. They need to be comfortable with that, and they need to be able to tell the customer why, and kind of say that, hey, this is what we choose for update cycles. I think this one is just about expectation setting up front of, here's how we're going to work. Here's kind of our operational cadence. Here's what you can expect from a project perspective. Here's how we're going to communicate with you. Here's what we expect of you. Having that outlined and ready to go, whether that's in the agreement or, pricing side and kind of a legal side, or even if it's just communicated as, part of the sales cycle. I think all of those are super important for agencies to have kind of answers for.
And I would add, it's if you're the prospect or the client and you're asking yourself, like, should I worry about this thing? Then to answer that question, you really need to know what are the costs and what are the risks. So there's certain things like cookie consent. That's not expensive and it's not difficult. Just do it. It's, but then they have objections and you have to address their objections. Well, I'm not that worried because I don't think that many of our visitors are from places where the law is applied. No, you are in a place where the law is applied because you have visitors from every place. You can't say that you have no visitors from California or Canada or Europe. And then also, what do you lose by doing that? Oh, it creates visual noise in my user experience. It's a standard. Oh, well, I'm going to lose some data from Google Analytics. Your analytics was never accurate anyway. You have accurate enough data. Trust me, you got plenty of data. So the objections are not strong. The cost is not high. It's the right thing to do. When you explain these things in detail, it's like accessibility. Oh, I'm not that worried. It's only a small percentage. It's not going to be, and I don't want to. Access to information is a human right. We're going to make it accessible to everybody. Give me a reason not to. Oh, maybe there's a cost. It's standard. We always do it. It's built in. It's a checklist. We have it's part of our process. One of the problems with accessibility is a little tricky because whoever manages the content post-launch, the client takes over their own website and they update their site with Duda or WordPress or whatever. They need to do certain things on their end to make sure that it stays accessible. But it's our job as the builders of the internet, right, to make sure that the foundation's in place.
Yeah, definitely. And just want to go back to where you were saying about data privacy and clients saying, oh, well, we don't need this and it's not relevant for my website visitors. And you're right, they don't know. Maybe they do have website visitors from the EU. You can't be sure at all times what's coming your way. And data privacy is actually just becoming stricter and stricter. Like at some point, you're going to have to comply, right? Mm-hmm. And tying in the fact that Google is phasing out third-party cookies towards the end of this year, people are going to have to shift their marketing strategies. You're not going to be able to rely so much on advertising anymore. And I wanted to bring into this conversation because, Andy, you said earlier that you've built your business completely without advertising. And it would be really great to hear a little bit about your strategy because marketers now are going to have to start shifting a little more towards how do they collect first-party data? How do they make their websites a trusted, platform where the content is appealing to the user and the user feels that they can enter their details and be happy with it. So I'd love to hear a little bit from you, Andy, about this, and then also from Russ, like what advice that you would give to people building websites today with this privacy landscape shifting.
Well, this is not a unique story, but this agency we started many years ago, we have $8 million in revenue, 50 employees, and have never bought an ad. I'm sure it works. I've never tried it. Never used a pop-up window. Never gated content. 500,000 visitors a year. We generate leads every day. How's that possible? You just be a useful citizen on the internet. Like, share your best advice. Be helpful and publish research. Be active on social platforms. Build a community. Build a brand. Make every piece of content you publish sort of exceed their expectations. So for 17 years, I've written one article every 2 weeks. So they're sometimes extremely detailed, like explaining, yesterday I made a video of how to use AI for social media, or how to use, GA4, Tag Manager, things that people need, the really important topics. And they subscribe, they ask for it, they want it, they trust your brand. So email marketing is disintermediation. There's no big tech company in between you and your audience. Cookies are irrelevant. Who cares? You don't care about cookies. They wanted your content. They gave you an email address. You send them your content. 3 years later, they're gushing about you to their employees, and they call you and try to, ask you how much money you want to help them. I mean, it's trust, brand building, community, partnerships. All of these things make cookies and advertising irrelevant. I'm sure advertising works. I understand why people are concerned about third-party cookies, but there are lots of ways to build a brand without it.
Yeah. What I hear Andy answering is build first-party relationships, right? Is build that direct connection with individual customers, and that means getting them in your email list, and that means communicating with them in ways that shows that they're human and they can trust you as a company and trust you as kind of the holder of whatever you're doing for them, what the websites that you're building or the marketing that you're trying to deliver on or whatever that might be. That's kind of what I hear behind the scenes, right? Like, if third-party cookies are going away, that just means you need to maintain the first-party ones and use those as much as possible. And I think that's absolutely the approach I think every business should be looking to build, is building that brand and building trust. And I think for a long time I've heard of agencies kind of asking the question, or asking, cool, do I even need a website? Or agencies hear this from customers. Customers ask the question, do I even need a website? I'm on social, I'm on Instagram, I'm doing these things to find and identify new customers. And I think, more and more people are coming back to the fact that, yeah, guess what? You do need a website. One is platforms shift over time, right? In the past, it was a heck of a lot easier to get attention on Facebook from a brand perspective, or a kind of a corporation perspective. And Facebook, guess what? They dialed that down and they changed it, and it's no longer possible to really build a corporate following on any of these platforms anymore. So having kind of your website as your central, first party, communication strategy is generally going to be your best practice for the long term of building an actual company and building a corporation. And then all of the things that go on top of the website from there are going to follow through of, great, we need to make sure that we're communicating all of our services. We need to make sure that we're showing that customers can trust us. And trust comes from, a lot of different areas that are out there. So that's kind of what I hear Andy answering for. He's answering it for himself, but these are kind of the general recommended, kind of practices these days of building an audience, make them come to you in some way, connect with you in some way, whether that's your email news list or whether that's, following you on social and it leads back to your website in some way. Mm-hmm. Those are the ways that you're going to kind of build a following and build a reputation and honestly build a brand. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your answers. It's super insightful. So we've spoken a lot about all of these different things that agencies need to be able to do for themselves, for their clients. But is it possible for agencies themselves to be experts in all of these things? And how can the agencies work with partners to be able to have the best of all of the things that we've mentioned for their customers? I'd love to hear a little bit of your thoughts about this.
Absolutely. Andy, you want
go ahead. No, Russ, jump in. That's a good one.
It's a great question. I think it's really, really hard because people do expect it. And look, I've been in this space 12 years, and I feel I know some of this stuff. I definitely don't know everything, and I'm not an expert in everything. And I'm someone who tries to be an expert in everything. And I'll tell you, it's nearly impossible. So I think this is absolutely a great thing to kind of call out of. Focus on areas that you do excel, right? As a marketing agency, don't say that you do reputation and you do email marketing and you do SEO and you do paid advertising if you don't do all of those things well, right? If you make sure that you focus on the services that you know that you can execute on and you know that you can deliver on. I would say things that you probably need to have for most businesses, right, is you're going to need to be, obviously you need to be able to like set up a website and kind of do the basics of optimization on that. And then, anything that's kind of outside of that, the closest thing I think is going to start with email marketing and just being able to like set up an email marketing program, collect leads, set up cadences and related to that. And then everything on top of that, is going to be a skill set and new service that you're going to want to add and learn over time. Don't start from, day one saying you're doing 10 different things if you're doing all of them, extremely poorly. You have to really build up that expertise before you even offer it as a service. So that can be hard for a lot of people, just being humble and kind of figuring out where I'm bad and where I'm good at things. But, focus on the areas you're good at.
Yeah, that gave me an idea. I wrote an article recently. It's like web design requirements, and it listed a bunch of those that I rattled off earlier. There were like a bunch of 10 of those. Probably it'd be fun to just do a similar post about like what are the skills required, and it is vast how many different skills and specialties there are in our category. I mean, think about CRM integration. That's almost purely technical. Think about brand and creative and some of these things are almost purely creative, right? Like logo development. It feels like over the decades, it has evolved such that the full service agency is not really generally the winner in the deal. I think what happens is that the CMOs and VPs of marketing in the world have realized they can do their own research and planning and then job out different things based on what they have self-diagnosed as their best opportunity. So the specialty firms seem to do well, right? I never got acquired by a big full service agency, right? Web development firms are still specialists and highly regarded and respected for being good at that one thing. Social media, paid social firms and analytics pros, and there's so many different specialties involved. So similarly, inside our businesses, we have different specialists and skill sets. A typical website project, just a website project, you've got a conversion copywriter in SEO. You've got design and UX expert. You've got a front-end programmer, a back-end programmer, often a systems integrator, who connects your cookie bot and your CRM and your, email sign-up forms to your, you got to build those nurture sequences inside your marketing automation. It's just amazing how many different skills are involved just in web development. Now, expand that out over all the categories in digital or all in marketing. It is a world of specialists. So know your blind spots, be honest about them. What you just said, Russ, basically, right? Like, let's not pretend we can do something we don't. Stay strategic, right? Not everybody in the world needs a Facebook ad. There's people I know, if you ask them, what should I do? They'll say Facebook ad because they do Facebook ads. So, and I get that, but there's a saying in the medical world, prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. Mm-hmm. It's not a foregone conclusion that everybody needs exactly what you do. Be honest about it. Refer, build a network, right? I referred someone else this morning. So that's, I think it's, go deep into a specialty, know your strengths, know your blind spots, be upfront about those, stay strategic, build a network of partners like Usercentrics. Thank you, Bethany. You guys are an important partner to us. We're not going to go do that. So that's, we all need our network, our squad who helps us get results for clients. And their clients don't expect us to do every single thing.
Yeah. Yeah, one kind of like intermediate approach I've seen some agencies take is kind of the outsourcing tact of, great, I'm not an expert in SEO, but I do know this other firm that does this really well, and I'm going to basically contract on their behalf for the client and go down that path. Or you can do the same thing with obviously, advertising or any type of marketing automation. You can do a lot of those kind of items and partner with companies to make that happen, and that can be actual source of revenue for agencies if managed correctly. It can easily go off the rails from a client perspective of who's responsible for what and who's communicating what, and kind of how does that integrate into the experience of working with that agency. But I have seen that be a successful path for quite a few agencies and offering that. I think agencies can also think of technology partnerships in probably the same way, right? Andy, you just referred to Usercentrics being the kind of the technology player behind the cookie, consent banners that you guys put on top of websites, right? And you're basically outsourcing that expertise to Usercentrics because that's what they do. They're good at that. Their technology solves that. And so agencies can think of technology partners in much the same way, right? Duda, we partner with Usercentrics and the CookieBot team the exact same way. We actually just offer their service through the Duda platform to our customers, and that just kind of solves a problem for a lot of our customers who need consent, and they need to deploy it not just across one website, but obviously they need to deploy it across hundreds or thousands of websites. And we're able to kind of automate that with a technology partnership to do that. So, that in that case, it's the agency partnering with Duda and Usercentrics to go and deploy these different, solutions that are out there. So agencies can think of, kind of partnerships in that way of solving a skill set that I don't have and I can't do kind of organically. You just need to make sure that, it generally fits and you're able to manage your customer expectations and communications, related to whatever service that is. And then obviously try and make some money off of it if possible. You don't just want to have it be a cost center. Yeah.
And I would add, if you think, why don't we add that service so that we can make some money from that, or we can offer that, we can extend that to clients. If you're not all in on that, it's going to be really hard to be an A player or A+ player. Like, some of our clients need video. Let's find someone and build a little tiny video production team. Good luck. That's a special thing. The person who does that all day long is going to get a better result. So yes, referring that out, it might seem like, well, maybe there's a referral, a commission agreement could be sometimes, but not just that. If you have like this ecosystem, collaborative partnership mindset, you can build relationships with people that send work the other way too. Even if it's not generating revenue, all of us need an ecosystem of partners. It's in your job title, I think, Russ, partnerships and ecosystem. Yeah. So all of those things, all of those friends those friendships will be very valuable to you in the long run when you have, you can plug your clients into partners who can solve their needs. Those companies also have clients. And they can plug you into those clients when those clients need them. And if they don't, that's fine too. But there should be a list inside your company of your top partners. Those should be kind of pre-written, simple introductions that you can quickly send to people so it doesn't take tons of your time. I mean, I spend probably half an hour a day doing introductions for people, like doing small favors. What about, this fancy Google Tag Manager setup or brand or logo design or animations, right? Those like fancy SVG Lottie animations. Your typical web designer doesn't really do a lot of it, I don't even know what that After Effects, right? That exports SVGs or the, special software, special skills. So no, except that it's a world of specialists. Go deep into your specialization, build relationships with the other related specialists, commission, maybe referral for sure. These partnerships are absolutely a huge part of the value that you bring to your clients and even, prospects and friends.
Yeah. I think I want to change now my job title to just be like, instead of ecosystem, just call it friends. That sounds a lot better. Yeah.
Friendship is actually, yep. Honestly, it's not like this is one of the million examples of how the most important things aren't in your analytics. Yeah. Fun, friendships, like these kind of the emotional benefits of being a helpful person. But no, that I've always thought that the highest form of influencer marketing is just friendship. If you say like, yeah, it's absolutely true, right? If Bethany asks me to do anything, I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter.
Oh, thanks.
Happy to, anytime, of course. Why wouldn't I?
As would I be, Bethany.
How do you get people to be on your webinar, Andy? I send them a text message, and when they reply, we book something. Like, just build, like, be good, be helpful, help people. It's going to work out for you in the end. I think that's, and again, third-party cookies. So what? You've got a network of people, referring business to you and collaborating with you on content and contributing to your articles. And I don't know. I think it's, think long term. This is a game that really benefits the people who play it for a long time. So
I totally agree. And as someone who's worked my whole career almost in partnerships, I'm very passionate about the topic. It's also why I started this podcast, so we can chat with our partners and you guys can be experts and speak to our customers. We can speak to yours. But I think at the end of the day, another key point is that customers' needs these days are getting more and more complex. And like you said, no one can be an expert in everything. And it's really important to have partners who you trust, who you can refer to your customers, and they're going to do a great job. And we have lots of partners at Usercentrics and Cookiebot, and we rely on them for all sorts of different kinds of needs for our customers at the end of the day, because we are the product. We're not implementing it for you. We're not optimizing it for you. We're not redesigning it for you. There are a lot of external things after just here's your consent banner that customers have questions about. And that's why we have partners to solve this greater world of needs. And I think it's so important, especially in SaaS and with all of these changes happening in the privacy landscape. No one can be an expert in everything. So relationships are key.
I love that we got to that. That's like it doesn't come up much. I'm in a million of these conversations, and it feels a little different, right? To get to highlight this super important point. I'm enjoying this conversation, guys, because this is, everyone wants to talk to me about like keyword research and GA4. This is, I think, a bigger perspective and a super important one.
We'll ground ourselves soon, and we'll get out of the fairy tale area. No.
I like the fairy tale part.
About AI prompts and GA4 explorations, I'm fine with that too. But friendship is underrated, right, as a topic.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bust us out of fairy tale land.
Okay.
And I want to leave our listeners with the expert advice of the two of you. That's why I brought you here. And let's give them what are the top 10 things that they need to do on their websites. You can just do 5 each, or you can do more than 10 if you feel like giving some extra value. So let's give them the list.
Okay. I'm going to do, let me touch on the first two that I think are directly impactful on results. The cheese and the mousetrap. High performing sites are visible and discoverable. And when someone looks, they find, they click, they land. That's optimized for search. So they have many pages optimized for many phrases, sort of a keyword focused sitemap at the big picture. The home page is typically the page that targets the most competitive, most valuable business category page, key phrase. And then post-click, they're optimized to convert. They're a mousetrap. They have high click-through rates on their calls to action. They answer questions. They address objections. They supply evidence to support those answers. So search optimized, conversion optimized, traffic times conversion rate equals leads. If a site does those things, it's definitely you got big problems. But I'd put those as maybe 1 and 2. Russ, you've got some.
Yeah. One must have is a site that integrates with your systems. It integrates with your CRM tool. Maybe that integrates with your marketing automation tool. Maybe that integrates into I'm trying to think of a slightly into your analytics tools to make sure that they all are syncing and kind of integrating together and coordinating as one. This type of dance it takes a lot of time and expertise to set up different, kind of maintenance between, great, I have somebody who fills in a form on a website, and guess what? That needs to, one, count as a lead in my analytics, and two, go into the individual email nurture tracks that are going to follow up. Maybe it's something that we need sales to jump on immediately, and we need to ping sales to make sure that they know about it and can follow up in a timely way. Sites that integrate with your external systems are critical to success, especially in B2B, and a little less in B2C, but definitely in B2B.
That's super important. No website's an island, and clients are just going to be angry. They should be rightfully angry if they have to do any manual copying and pasting. That's I talk to prospects and they're like, oh, my site, I have to have somebody actually move this over here into this other system, or we're uploading spreadsheets, or we only respond to leads when they come in from email. Imagine that. You're losing leads for sure if you don't have a database. Here's a quick tangent. Every time a form is submitted, at least five things should happen. Visitor lands at a thank you page. Visitor gets an email. Business rep, the sales rep, gets an email. The person is tracked as a conversion, now called the key event in analytics. They're entered into they're now in the database. They're in the CRM. Anyway. Speaking of that, I will say my fourth thing that websites have to do is to be measurable and be tracked as the conversion, right? Sites make it easy or hard to do analytics. If the entire content program is in a common directory, such as /blog, measuring content performance is easy. If it's not, measuring content performance is hard. Sites should have a thank you page for every type of conversion. If they don't, measuring performance is hard, much harder. The site search tool, if you use a standard query parameter like an S or a Q, it's automatically tracked. If not, measure performance is hard. So there are little ways in which websites can fight with or work with GA4. And that is absolutely, how do you get smarter unless you have analytics? So there are details that really, you have to have done lots of sites before you understand those little things that make it post-launch measurement easy or hard. Measurement's hard enough anyway, so let's not make it more difficult. So that'd be my number 4. Results are easy to measure.
Yeah. The next one I would mention is content is easy to update and maintain. Like as an agency, you want to be able to go in quickly and make changes, not require a developer to jump into some code and alter, just copy your text or anything like that. You want to make sure that you have a CMS platform in place that can go and make these changes easy to be done, right? This is our bread and butter at Duda, but it can be any type of tooling that's out there. And ideally, you and both your clients can go make updates. On top of that, having fresh, relevant content on your website, it's a ranking factor, but two, it just shows that you're alive and you're active as a company. That if you, for example, if you don't update your website when you're closed for a week because you're on vacation, or you don't update your website when you're closed on some holiday that's coming up, that's information that you're not communicating to customers, and your CMS should enable that type of communication very seamlessly and allow you to update your website easily and quickly. The amount of friction that's caused by not being able to update a website can be pretty immense, and in today's world, it's almost a solved problem for the most part. Most professional agencies and tooling and companies are using some type of CMS platform out there.
Yeah, it should be easy, fast, and free. You should be angry if you have to call a programmer to update a page. You should be upset because that's not how the internet works. And actually, though, Russ, it's funny. I still meet people who are sort of surprised at how easy it is once they have a tool that works. Like, wait, that's all you did? Yep. You choose the page, you change it, and you click save. Wow.
You see the text on the page and you change it. Yeah.
Yeah. Refresh. Look, it's done. So yeah, it's perfect that you're here for Duda on behalf of Duda, because you guys, this is your, all of us should believe in that. I would add the mobile responsiveness. Obviously, I can just do this quickly. Everything has to look good on every screen size. If you go into analytics and click on the tech report and go to tech details, and switch the first drop down to device category, it'll show you what percentage of visitors are on mobile. I've had long meetings where we didn't realize till the end that 80% of the visitors to that page are actually coming on mobile devices. If you're in Chrome, you can right click, go to inspect, and it will bring up the Chrome Dev Tools, and you can just switch it to iPhone and look at your site there. You don't even have to take out your phone. So yes, mobile responsiveness. Your mobile site has a very different visual hierarchy. Look closely at it. Ask how far down these elements appear. How tall is that form? Does are your client logos super dinky? No one can see them. How does your hamburger menu work?
Yeah.
These are
just to add on top of what you're saying here, Andy. I would even add, like, when you talk to an agency, if you're buying a website from an agency or as an agency, I think it's almost essential to design first for the mobile experience. The majority of web traffic today is mobile. And so you should be thinking of it, great, what is somebody who's on the phone experiencing here today, right? Are they able to interact with the navigation? Can they get in contact with me easily? Can they understand and read the headline at the top of the page that's going to convince them to stay there and understand the business? I think, designing first from a mobile perspective, and then you add on to things that you might want to do on the desktop side is the right thought process, since, in Duda's analytics, we see about 60% of web traffic is mobile, and so it's that's the vast majority of the web out there today. So I always just recommend kind of the mobile first design principles as a thought process when setting up and building a website.
Yeah, I could debate you on this. I for some reason I'm a little bit irritated by the term because it's such a buzzword, mobile first.
For sure.
And it's like a book. It was like this famous thing, like mobile first. So this is like a bit of contrarian view. I don't think it matters which one you do first. If you show a client one or the other first, like which one do they approve? Like, and 60% for some, 20% for some. Go look at that analytics report and see for yourself in your own account for your own visitors. And a more accurate way to see it, which is easy if your blog and all your content marketing is in a different directory, is look at the mobile traffic per section on your site. A lot of B2B companies have 85% traffic on desktop to their sales pages, but their content marketing program is promoted through social and email, and there it's 85% mobile. So different intent, different device categories, different landing pages. But yeah, it's I have this I don't know why I'm sort of irritated by the word mobile first. I don't. Why does it matter the order?
A little nuance to the conversation, right?
It just bugs me. It's like, eat your broccoli before you have your, like, who cares? Eat them both.
Fair.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I lost track. Where are we in the list? Oh, accessibility is a big one. Russ, did you want to tell us? I mean, you got a perspective there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, building for building the web to be accessible, I think is critical for today. It's more than 15% of Americans have some form of disability. This means they're hard of hearing. That means they're colorblind. That means they're partially or fully blind and can't see. And the web needs to be usable for anybody that's visiting, right? If you were to tell a business that suddenly they're going to stop getting 15% of their leads coming through, they're not able to communicate with 15% of their potential audience, that's huge. And so you really do need to be able to cater and build accessible websites. And luckily on the web, this is very doable. It does require some knowledge, and it requires expertise, and it requires the fact that you design the website to be accessible in the first place. And what that means is you have clear images. You set it in a way where the color contrast is easy to read for folks. It means that if you have a video, you either have closed captionings or you have a thoughtful description next to that video. If you have an image, you set either what's called alt text, which is just kind of the description of the image, or text below it to describe that image. It means that you're thoughtful about all of these considerations when building a website broadly. There are some technical kind of considerations behind the scene of, can I use a keyboard with this? If I can't use a mouse and I have to use a keyboard to navigate through, can I do that? That type of stuff becomes a bit more technical to work through. A lot of platforms like Duda, we just kind of take care of this, a lot of the stuff out of the box, or we have additional tools that help you do these things on top of it. So there are solutions for it. But I think broadly, I think accessibility is not only is it the right thing to do, I think it's the essential thing to do for websites.
Yeah, there's I once had a presenter at a conference who said that accessible to the few means easier for the all. by the way. Everything you mentioned just makes sites better to use for all of our visitors. So why wouldn't we do those anyway? A bit similar, compliance with privacy laws, accessibility. There are laws, right? The Americans with Disabilities Act and WCAG. CookieBot solves a problem for GDPR, and the California thing, which is CCPA. It's like alphabet soup.
CRPA. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Can we just all decide together to do the right thing and prioritize people who choose not to be tracked? Okay,
you're going to reduce. Why I brought you here, so you can tell everyone, just do the right thing.
It's the right thing. First, I'll say do it for selfish reasons, okay? Because look, we're all selfish in the end. So you don't want to get sued. And there are legal actions. You can be sued for having a site that is not accessible or doesn't comply with privacy laws. But also, it is just virtuous, and it's the correct thing to do as a good citizen on the internet, to build things so that they're usable for everyone and that they're respectful. It's like a respect thing. Person doesn't want to be tracked. Don't track people who don't want to be tracked. The irritation around third-party cookies is similar. It's like, I want everyone's data. What if they don't want to give you their data? We live in an era where there's a lot being accrued on the back end. Every time we click on things in social platforms, like this, just gathering all this data on us. I'm annoyed by that. I'm not scared by it, but I'm annoyed, and I think that it's important to let people opt out of tracking. Sure, your analytics is a bit less accurate. So what? It was never accurate anyway. Anybody could have browsed your site without, in private mode or whatever, and elected not to be tracked. So I don't know, 20% of your traffic isn't there. So what? You have, even if it's 50% of your traffic's not there, you still have plenty of traffic to do analysis. But yes, let's be respectful for our visitors. I think respect is a word that I think of for this one. So yeah, cookie consent, just put it on there. What's the big deal?
It's kind of just becoming a requirement these days. You just kind of have to have it. Yeah. I think the next kind of requirement, or kind of 10 things that our audience should look for is a site that loads fast, a site that performs well. Google has released what they call their core web vitals, which track the overall web experience that you're getting. It's not just the initial load, it's the overall grade. When I click a button on the site, does the screen move around at all? Does the content shift on the page? When I click a button, does it react quickly? Do I see a change happen immediately on the website? Obviously, does it load quickly? And when I first navigate to the website, am I seeing content quickly? These are metrics that Google is actively tracking across the web. They track it in the Chrome browser anonymously and report that back. And Google uses it to influence their search results. It's a small ranking factor, but it is a ranking factor that Google uses to say, great, is this a high quality website? Is the user going to have an experience where they're not going to just be pushed around and shown pop-ups and have the screen shift around on them? Google has really pushed this, and ultimately this leads to things like better conversion rate. It leads to things like better trust. It leads to things like customers coming to you and relying on you more frequently. When you have a site that loads quickly and offers a great experience holistically for those visitors.
Yeah, it's another one that just do it for the right reasons. It's like fast loading sites are often sites that use less bandwidth, and therefore sites that are kind of easier on the planet because data centers need ridiculous amounts of electricity to stay cool. Mm-hmm. So a fast way for anybody to do this is to just run their site through a tool that checks to see if they haven't, forgotten to compress some images or not using tools that will compress their images for them. But no, it's good for conversion rates. It's good for the internet. It's good for your users, and maybe even good for search. SEOs, I get irritated here too, because SEOs tend not to prioritize things until they think Google cares.
Right.
You should have cared about this long before you thought Google cared. Core Web Vitals didn't change anything for the people who cared about their visitors beforehand. Right. There's lots of new, ways to look at it. What is it? Largest contentful paint. There's a lot of accurate, Yeah. There's first input display. It's like there's lots of metrics, and you can go work on those and, see the very triggering, colorful charts that tell you if you're passing or failing. But let's make the internet that's also accessibility, by the way, for people that are on low bandwidth.
course.
You want it to work around the world. You want to help people everywhere. You should make your site accessible by being fast enough to load in different places. So yeah, that's a really good one. Glad we covered that. That was, I think we skipped though, Russ, a big one. The brand. What about brand? What about storytelling? What about fidelity to our message and our, that $25,000 we spent on our creative brief? I didn't do that, but some companies do. This actually is one of the main reasons why people redesign their websites. We've done research and we've done polls and surveys with our audience, and why do you want to update your website? Even if their site does not rank at all, even if it loads very slowly, even if it's not mobile friendly, even if it doesn't convert, even if results are needed to measure, even if it doesn't connect to their systems. The main reason people start, pursuing, beginning the adventure of designing a new site is that the messaging isn't wrong. The messaging isn't right? We got to change it, got to update the messaging, which if you've got Duda or WordPress or something, they should be able to change easily themselves. But actually, brand alignment is the in my experience, one of the main reasons why people redesign. Mm-hmm. It really is. So yeah, of course. Yes, definitely. It's a requirement. Let's do it. Styles, colors, fonts, typography, iconography, photo treatments, the words, tone of voice, the alignment across all the pages, where it kind of feels cohesive, and then also, the taglines, the messaging, does this connect in an emotional way with our prospects? That is not to be understated, because it, in fact, is often the main reason why the client wants a new website.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more here, Andy. I think it's the ultimate representation of your brand online is your website. And we see a lot of agencies get new customers because they felt like the previous website was ugly, it wasn't outdated, mm-hmm. It wasn't relevant for them. It had an old logo or old images, and mm-hmm. They couldn't go and make that update. And so we see agencies, this is a huge source of new websites for Duda and new agency websites that are built. It's because the small business wants a refresh and an update and have that fresh, kind of story coming through. I think we see on average, it's about the average length of a website is about 4 or 5 years that, you kind of start on it, you build it, then you update it. And then after 4 or 5 years, a customer kind of gets antsy and kind of wants a refresh or wants a rebuild, after that point. I see that same trend actually internally at Duda, right? We fully redesign our website about every 4 years at some point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that there's industries. That's a fun question. I've actually done research on this. It's what's the average lifespan of a website? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you take the top websites in each category, a list of top marketing websites, it's actually 2 years and 7 months. Because those are big companies that have high expectations. In my experience, is the same. Really, sites we build, I'm proud if they last for 4 to 5 years. I think if you're in a technology category or a design category, it tends to be shorter.
Yep.
If you're in a manufacturing or a sleepier corner of the internet, it might be longer. Yep. But every website must be redesigned eventually. And we never want to be the last company in our category to redesign, because we're just going to look older first. Yes, it's inevitable, right? Everyone needs, and it is the home of the brand. It's the one place you control everything. You control the message, you control the formats of content, you control, the way you tell your story, the way you portray your team, the way you show off your work, the way you position yourself to the market. Every ad is limited by time and space, right? Word of mouth, you're not even there. Your site is the place you control. That your every pixel on that is yours. So unlike social media, where you got to kind of compete in this stream or search, you might appear, you might not. Your site should be a work of art and your best example of your brand in the marketplace. And comply with privacy laws.
And comply.
Usercentrics, Cookiebot, get some help. get it on there if it's not there, because you don't want to be the last one to be legal on your website.
Great. Guys, thank you so much for being on this episode of the podcast. It was so great to have you here. And I think I should rename it Friends of Usercentrics because
Absolutely.
that's what we got to at the end of this episode. I think that you've provided some amazing tips for our listeners to build not only websites that are conversion machines, but also respecting the users and building trust with their audience. And that's really so key in this day and age. So Andy, Russ, thank you so much for being here. And thank you also to our listeners. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you would like to suggest more topics, you can go to usercentrics.com/consented. And it's a wrap, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Bethany. Thanks, Ricky Bot.